All right, this is Team 5 interview over anxiety and arousal in sports. I'm here today with Isaac Bowling on the U of L track team. Isaac, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a senior marketing major at the University of Louisville. I've competed for track and field for 6 years now, 2 years in high school and 4 years in college. Had some success and some failures along the way, but pretty much I've just continued to work hard and got me to where I am today.
How long have you been involved in sports?
I've been involved with sports pretty much my whole life. Started out playing Pee Wee football, and then that progressed into high school. And then in high school I played football, wrestled, and then did track and field.
All right. How would you describe your arousal before a competition?
I'd describe it as more of excitement, I guess, when you put everything together with your fans and your teammates. It's more of an exciting feeling. If I could describe it in one word, it'd be exciting.
So never any nerves or.
I guess it depends how you categorize it. Nerves and excitement can go hand in hand, and nerves can also be more of be put in a negative term. I just decided to put it in a positive term.
Yeah,
in
for
regards
sure.
to excitement. So.
Does anxiety ever hinder your performance to the point where you doubt your abilities?
I think anxiety has hindered my performance more in the past. I think as you develop when you develop your craft, whatever sport that is, you end up turning that anxiety into confidence. But I think anxiety comes when you think of the outside pressures. So with like your coaches or teammates or anything like that, that's where the anxiety comes. And when you take anxiety and you turn it into confidence, that your teammates and your coaches and everyone watching is there to support you instead of kind of judge you in negative ways, then it kind of turns into confidence. So in my beginning stages, I think it did, but now it's continued to.
So you've progressed throughout.
Yeah,
your
but
years.
it's definitely something I had to work at.
For sure.
And go through that.
What helps you overcome anxiety before a competition? I know you're just talking about your coaches and your peers, but.
It's weird. Growing up, I would get excited. As the day started, I would think about either my track meet or my football game or something. And I'd get excited in the beginning of the day. And I'd be so excited throughout the day that by the time the competition came, I was drained. So I decided that I should do something to kind of like get my mind off it. So I think it would have been probably my junior year of high school, I started to read before competitions. And that kind of made me just more think about that and stay relaxed until it came time for the competition. I'd put the book away and start to focus on the competition at hand, and then that was the time to get excited, I guess.
So, is it safe to say, it's better to have your mind off the competition until it's time to perform?
For me, yeah. Personally, definitely.
If you've ever been injured, how does that affect your confidence, and what kind of anxiety do you experience once you get back to competing?
I actually went through an injury last year. I got redshirted out my outdoor track and field season, and it was a hand injury. And your hand injury, pretty much, that's the craft of throwing is using your hand to propel the implement. And so this year I went through that transition, and it basically it comes down to preparing, I guess, recuperating your body enough to where you can gain the confidence to come back and know your body is going to perform and not let you down. Because I think all the time you're mentally there, but you always think oh, whatever injury you had isn't going to be there. But if you've done the proper steps to recuperating and recovering, then it kind of turns into confidence, and it's kind of a better way to deal with it.
How do you usually feel before competition, and what do you do to increase your confidence to become comfortable? So, what makes you feel comfortable? I know you said you like to read books.
Yeah,
beforehand.
I just like to stay relaxed. I think that's my personal preference, though. Just stay relaxed, like I said earlier, keep my mind off the competition itself, and And that's not to say because the whole entire week you prepare, or I guess every day you prepare.
Yeah.
So it's not like you ever really have a day off, but the day of, when you get your nerves and your excitement's going, then you kind of have to channel those somewhere else. So you always feel prepared, but when it comes time, it's just kind of relax until right then when you have to perform.
Can you explain some of your teammates? I know a lot of people like to listen to music before events and so forth. Can you explain what some of your teammates do to kind of stay in that relaxation zone?
Yeah, I tell you what, this is kind of funny. So when we all travel to meets, there's meets we have to travel like 3 hours, 4 hours, something like that. And as kind of like the captains on the team, we decided that instead of playing, you can watch movies on the charter buses that we go on. So instead of playing movies that were, I don't know, like crime movies or genres like dramas or something sad or anything like that, we decided to play more like funny movies, happy movies to keep everyone kind of chill and relaxed. Mm-hmm. So I think that's something that we actually started doing this year more. I think that's helped people stay relaxed until you actually get to the competition where you can, then it's time to kind of go. But that's one thing that we've done. Like you said, other people listen to music. Just talk and hang out is really what we try and do to prepare and stay relaxed.
Kind of like a fine line between switching it on and switching it off.
Yeah, I think that's something that you definitely have to learn and progress at and work towards being able to do. Because it's just like balancing your family life with your job life. It's kind of the same thing. You have to be able to like turn it off and get that balance to work best for you, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And it takes a while for people to find that.
No one likes to lose. I'm sure your coach has a little bit of pressure, maybe not an immense amount of pressure, but how do you deal with the pressure of having to win every competition?
Pressure to win. I think there is pressure. But like I said, you kind of have to learn to channel that pressure into more of, you have a support system around you to help you get through those times, because you're going to have good games or you're going to have bad games. And at the end of the day, you know they're going to be there for you. When the pressure kind of gets going, I think you basically just have to find a way to kind of get over the pressure of it and turn it into something positive and not look at it as something negative.
What is your best response to stress and consequences of not winning all the time? So, how do you deal with that stress when you don't win? Like, more practice, more focus, what?
I think I deal with the stress of winning or losing, and I kind of just learned that this year was when you have your successes, you have to celebrate them in whatever way that way is for the individual, because mentally your body realizes that you had a success, and when you had a failure, I kind of rethink the situation. Why did this happen? What could I have done differently? Was I prepared enough that week? And then I try to take like little steps to do that. And people get into these routines of competition, and they have to stick to these certain ways of doing things. And I try to not look into those as much, and that kind of helps me.
Okay, like to tie those last two questions together. So there's for sure stress if you win or lose a competition.
Let me say that again.
So, like, to tie the two questions together, like, you're saying there's for sure stress in losing to get better. What did you do wrong? But there's also stress when you win a competition as well.
So then you have more people thinking, like, this is on you. You deal with that by, at the end of the day, saying that you're there because of you. So whatever goals you set out to do, whatever goals you set out to accomplish, whatever that is more for personal gain, more for personal aspirations than it is for other individuals who are just there to basically criticize you when you do wrong. So you just have to look within yourself and realize that I did this for me, and I'm doing the best I can at all times to accomplish that.
Have uniforms ever led you to develop anxiety before competing?
I think that definitely happened. It didn't happen in high school, I don't think much, but when you get into college, you realize that you represent a much larger organization, something larger than you are. So when you do put on that jersey, it's like, okay, I'm not just representing myself now. I'm representing a community of athletes, a whole university, and that kind of builds up with anxiety. But again, it's more of a, well, you can turn it into anxiety. You can turn it in, well, I've worked hard to earn here or to get here. That will give me the confidence to get through this and kind of build through that aspect of it.
Do you have any stories about anything like that?
In regards to
The uniforms having anxiety on you or as a team as a whole?
yeah, I think there's a pretty cool thing. We didn't basically we have a top and a bottom to our singlets or to our uniforms, and it was the first meet of the year we didn't have it in our bottoms of the singlets, and so everyone basically practiced in the gear that they performed in the meet, all over the top, and I think that impacted the team as a whole because they couldn't turn the switch like, okay, this is competition time, we're going against everybody else. It was almost like your everyday routine. I think that says something about putting on a uniform and representing something bigger. And I think at the end of the day, it ups your game to perform because you have other people to actually perform for too as well.
So you're saying no one really realizes the effect it can have on you when you actually do put that game time jersey on.
Correct.
Unless you're put in that situation where you don't have the ability to do that.
Correct. I think so. I think that could even be something that somebody looks into more of the aspect of individuals put on uniform and make a difference, and that can correlate, I think, into the professional world as well as if when you go into work and you put on your work attire, whether it's casual day or not. And I think that truly affects someone's work day or something along those lines.
How do you develop the drive that pushes you over to the top, and how do you keep it when your first instinct is to relax? So how do you get that drive to be the best, and once you've achieved that, what keeps pushing you to perform and to succeed?
I think at the end of the day, that can just come down to the individual and what personally drives them. At the end of the day, for me personally, it doesn't matter what the other person does. At the end of the day, I want to reach my goals. And when you get in a competition, you see that individual do something better or that team basically beating you. Of course, it's going to drive you. But at the end of the day, I think your own aspirations are what's going to get you to the top. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to keep you there. And that's what pushes you on the days that you don't have competition to make you better. And I think it's more of an inner self-conflict, I guess.
Okay, so let's say we win a national championship. We're the best in the nation. How do you get better from that? You're already the top. How do you get better from that?
By knowing that you can work harder. I think by knowing that you're number one, but at the end of the day, there's always going to be somebody coming for you. And at the end of the day, you know, when you go to sleep, that somebody else could be working. When you have your day off, somebody could be hitting the gym or practicing more. Knowing that somebody else is always working and that you have to take those steps to continue to stay at the top. And like I said, it's an inner thing. It's the fact that I would still be doing my sport or still be doing something if nobody else was, because it's something that I enjoy doing, and I know that's my craft. That's kind of what propels me to be better.
All right, that concludes the interview. Do you have any last remarks for us?
No, I think we're good to go.
All right.
Thank you.
Hi, we're here today with the track and field coach, Brooke Demo. She's here to talk about the topic on sports anxiety and arousal. And without further ado, if you could just give us a quick intro and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, like you said, my name is Brooke Demo. I'm a track and field coach here at the University of Louisville. I'm an assistant coach, and I coach the pole vaulters, the decathletes, and heptathletes. This is my 6th year in college coaching, and I was a collegiate pole vaulter myself.
Okay, thank you. The first question I would want to ask Brooke would be, when it relates to athlete anxiety, have you ever coached two athletes that have had completely different personalities and have completely different trait anxieties? Has one been laid back, and has the other been the nervous type?
Yeah, definitely every athlete that I've coached and kind of in our program is very different in how they approach competition and athletics. And so us as coaches, and especially in track and field, we have more freedom to do this. We're very individual in our approaches and how we coach kids. And one of our most important jobs is understanding who they are and how they react to different situations, and knowing when they need more pressure or when they need pressure taken off of them. And if they, if in the middle of competition, if you can tell that their stress level is really high, that you can say something to kind of bring them down, or if they aren't, appearing like they understand the urgency of the situation either, of kicking it up a notch as well. So we definitely, we coach athletes, we coach events, but most importantly, we coach the athletes and what they need.
Okay. To lead off of that, I wonder if you've ever had an athlete who's been in a slump, who's not performing at their top level. How do you motivate that athlete without putting too much pressure on them and without making them too anxious for the next competition, so they can still perform at their best?
For sure. No, that's a great question, and especially as a pole vault coach, pole vault's a very unique event where if things don't go well, you can get hurt very badly. So there's a lot of different anxiety that can go into it for different kids, and I always try to stay positive and point out the things that they're doing well within a competition or within practice, and also try to set them up on a progression that they have confidence in. Because if things aren't going well, obviously their confidence, if the result isn't good, their confidence is going to be down. So I'm always looking for different ways to, set them up to be successful. If that's slowing stuff down, or, focusing on some of their strengths. And it's like I said, it's very individual on how kids will respond. And as you go through a career with an athlete in college, the more you interact with them, the more you get to know them and how you approach them, when they're struggling. And the biggest thing is getting them into a place where they're comfortable. And my job as a coach is to build confidence. If they're not on the runway with confidence or in the blocks with confidence, it's probably not going to go very well.
Exactly.
So, and each kid's different, what they need in order to.
And then going off what you said, if an athlete gets injured, things are not going to go as planned. Have you ever seen an injury ever set an athlete back to where they can't return to their personal best? How do you get them to motivate themselves, first of all, and perform at their top level again?
Yeah, no, injuries are tough, and I think we approach it from the very beginning that it's, injuries are going to happen when you're trying to push the level of your training and get to that next level. It's, you're always walking that fine line. So it's a constant thing of, and trying to, if something happens, an athlete gets dinged up, that you're, hey, like this, there's always going to be bumps in the road that happens to everybody. And the less you stress about it and the more calm you are about it, the more positive you are, the quicker you're going to come back. And there are obviously situations where kids get hurt and they don't ever return to the level that they were at.
Yeah.
And that's tough. It's tough for an athlete to deal with, but I think you have to start with, okay, this is who you are now. We're not looking about who you were a year ago or 3 weeks ago. This is where you're at right now, and we're going to build on where you're at here.
Okay. And then one question I've always been fascinated with, every team has that star player. And every coach expects more from that player, not necessarily to carry the whole team, but to be at their personal best all the time. Do you think that that demand for that player, does that ever put too much stress on that athlete? And
right.
How do you expect them to perform, if they're not if they're not competing the way you expect of them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's tough. And, with track and field being an individual sport, it makes it a little bit unique. And, the star players or the studs on our team, we want them to welcome that stress too. We want them to want to be the person that needs to step up and welcome that with open arms. Because if they don't have that mentality, it's really hard for them to be at that high level regardless, And, but it's tough, and it does create a different mindset sometimes for them, and trying to, our job is to push them to another level of commitment and dedication and motivation, and doing that without, breaking an athlete and not, setting too high of expectations and that they can't reach, and then it's a constant them feeling like they've, failed. And so you're trying to push them along, and it's a growing process. It takes time for them to accept that role and understand, what it means to be in that role. And, we have to, kind of, push them along at the pace that they can handle. And that's just a constant communication, understanding, where they're at in that.
Okay. And then to just finish off quickly, how do you develop that relationship with your athletes to the point where you're just not their coach, but you're their friend, and no matter what happens, you're always their biggest supporter? And
right. Yeah, no, it's a tough line, because my job is to help them succeed. My job isn't to be their friend, And now within helping them succeed, you build a relationship of, they have to trust what we're doing. If they don't, then you're typically not going to have a great result. And so, as they continue on your career, there's a relationship there. But as they're an athlete, you have to keep that line of hey, my job is to help you be successful. And my job isn't to be your friend. I'm not gonna, there's times that you need someone to just totally pick you up, but that's not the best, it's really place for you at where you're at. Then, that's what your teammates are for. But yeah, no, it's a fine line, because we spend a lot of time with the athletes and we care about the kids, and that's, we're here to help them develop not only as athletes but personally and socially and academically. But we have to make sure that there's still a line there, and them understanding that we care about you, but we're also here to help make you better.
Okay. All right. So that was covering the topic on sports anxiety and arousal, and I want to thank the the track and field coach, Brooke Demo.
Yeah.
And there we have it.
Thank you.